r/askreddit, what scientific fact scares the absolute shit out of you? The Carrington event link. Prion diseases exist. Worse is that they can spontaneously happen with no genetic history. Lost my brother-in-law to CJD last year. Yeah, I've done CWD research, and while we had loads of precautions when handling positive samples, I always have a slight fear of being the first human case. Why do I click on this shit every fucking time? I was expecting cool/scary science space stuff. Now I'm making it a point for a physical. Life is crazy. That you could just have a brain aneurysm and die at any given time with no warning. My mom had one while she was buying bread. Not a single sign anything would happen on that day before. Rabies. You can have it and never know until it decides it's time. And then you'll die terribly. I used to get a bat in my old house that would weasel his way in through an old crawl space. Woke up to him flying in my room once. That was 15 years ago, but part of me still thinks I should get a rabies test done. Our white blood cells are fighting cancer cells on the daily. You can get non-buoyant water. I copied this comment from a post a while back and it freaks me out. In wastewater treatment plants they aerate the water so the bacteria breaking down the POO has plenty of oxygen. Due to the introduced air, the water density is low enough that a human body, or most any object that would normally float, will go straight to the bottom. Holy shit. That is scary. Note to self, no swimming in wastewater treatment plants. More oxygen in water equals no oxygen for you. That one day I will die. I don't know why, but sometimes at night, as I'm falling asleep, I suddenly think of this and it freaks me out. Like start feeling super anxiety. I get so scared when I think about dying that I almost start crying. It's horrible and I don't think I will ever be at peace with death. Thank you for the reward. Every time you use an antibiotic, even for something mild like strep throat or bronchitis or traveler's diarrhea, you technically could get C. difficile infection from your wiped out gut flora. And that could end up a lingering, resistant infection, that leads to colectomy or fecal transplant. Antibiotics are scary. And there's a reason doctors only want to prescribe them if absolutely needed. Edit. I'm sorry I wasn't able to respond to everyone, this comment got a lot bigger than expected. The fact that we could get hit by a coronal mass ejection at any moment. Someone on Reddit a long time ago said this about something similar, and it stuck with me for years. If it doesn't happen, you lead a normal life, and there's no need to worry. If it does happen, it's suddenly not your problem anymore. That's just pretty lights in the sky, most times. That I always end up on these fucking posts when I'm about to sleep, truly a scientific fact. Less scary, more mind-numbingly depressing is the dark era of the universe. When all the star fuel is gone, and it will be, and all the white dwarfs have gone cold and dark, and they will, and all the black holes have evaporated away into elementary particles, and they will, the universe will be a cold, dark place. Forever. If everyone lived forever, we would all eventually get cancer. Statistical fact. Your cells are just gonna split weird eventually and mutate. But for one, sweet, beautiful moment, there was so much light. Mortality and immortality scare me. Like, I don't want to die because I love being here and my life is generally good, but what the fuck would I do for eternity? The Marianas Trench is so deep that you could fit Mount Everest in it. Even if you stand at the summit, there would still be about a mile of ocean above your head. Maybe not too scientific per se, but the fact that I could get hit by a car walking home from work and wake up in the hospital. Go on with my life, meet the love of my life and get married. Have kids, and watch them grow into their teens and we all have a good life. Then one day I wake up in the hospital and find out I was in a coma and none of that was real. That motherfucking lamp. Methanol contains very little carbon, so when it burns it's basically invisible. Can you imagine death by burning alive and no one can see the flames so they can't put them out? If you get scurvy, all of your old and new scars open up and bleed. Even ones that have healed fully and gone white. Horrifying if you've had multiple surgeries. Horrifying if you have a self-harm history. I've had a breast reduction and a brain surgery. My titties would fall apart and my cerebellum would leak out the back of my head. Excuse me while I go shove a bottle of vitamin C capsules up my ass LMFAO. Space just in general. Or that bit about the Higgs field not being in true equilibrium and that returning to it would break everything as we know it. The mere thought of what would happen if fire wasn't in the visible light spectrum. Good news everyone. Methanol fire is completely invisible to the human eye in sunlight. Your eyes have their own immune system and if your brain ever figures that out then it will eat away at them turning you blind. Why would you tell this to my brain like that? Bruh, my brain read this comment now and I'm blind. A solar flare could really butt fuck modern society. It's like stepson porn. Cockroaches can live for up to a week without their head. Cockroaches can live for 5 months on wallpaper glue. Cockroaches can hold their breath for up to 40 minutes. Yes, I have catsauroidophobia. That viruses cannot classify as a living organism and yet behave as if they are fully aware of their surroundings and evolved to suit it. They behave like they have a brain but are merely nucleic acids. Fascinated me since my first virology class. In my creative writing class I actually wrote a short story from a virus's point of view getting into the body and replicating. It was a ton of fun to write and taught some kids some microbiology. Your brain can just stoke out and die at any time. Fuck this whole thread. Makes me depressed. That I could be the only conscious being and everyone else my imagination, and I would never know. I'll tell you this, I'm real and I'll punch you to prove it, haha. After looking through lots of comments, turns out that I can die from about a million things any second, yay. That I'm 38 and this type of thinking leads you to very sudden scary things, but it's wildly more likely that the entire human race is going to slip into a state where it's extremely unpleasant to be alive within my lifetime. It's been a large deciding factor in me deciding that kids aren't for me. If I make 70, 32 years away, it's very likely life will be very unpleasant. There is a form of insomnia that forces your body to never be able to sleep, and has a 100% fatality rate. Remove. This just trying to comprehend the actual size of the universe is a challenge, getting a fraction of comprehension of it is downright terrifying. Well, these are all horrifying. But you can survive them. I've had 13 mini strokes and one full-blown half my body is dead stroke. Better believe I quit smoking and changed out of my stressful job. The potential for false vacuum decay, link. It's possible that the vacuum state of our universe isn't really in its lowest state but is instead in a false low. If something were to cause the vacuum to decay to its true minimum somewhere in the universe, this would spread at the speed of light, and when it reached us we would simply cease to exist. No warning, no feeling, just gone. I'm fine with that. Dissociation. That shit's scary to experience. 100%, depersonalization and derealization can leave you feeling like you've become mad and lost touch with reality. The fact that we can just get a blood clot and die and not realize anything was up. The human body has so many ways of just suddenly dying and it's terrifying. When my friend started studying medicine, she said she's surprised we're not dead yet because she's constantly learning about so many ways and things that can kill people so easily. I don't remember what it was called, but there was an event in the 1800s caused by solar activity where telegraphs operated on their own without power and I think caused minor damage. Should such a solar event happen again, it would destroy all of our internet network capabilities and other electrical gear. Anyone know what I'm referring to? Edit, Carrington event. Thanks for the links.